On everybody, just recapping practice number 18. However, once again we were not able to be out there. We've only been able to watch practice once this week, not expected to be able to be out there Friday or Saturday either. Really disappointing, but there are some things to get to. Mario Cristobal did speak to reporters after practice today, so I will get into some things that he had to say. Also, players Tyler Van Dyke, Jafari Harvey, and Gilbert Frierson spoke as well. And there were a bunch of interviews yesterday too that I want to get into. But let's first start off with some news with Coach Cristobal talking about some injury guys. Just real quick, Zion Nelson still coming back. He said next Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Wednesday, is when they'll determine if he'll be able to play in the opener against Bethune-Cookman. I can't believe it's already coming here. Finally next week on Saturday, September 3rd. So just right around the corner. Also, he said Don Chaney Jr. is going to be out several weeks. However, he did say his injury is not as severe as Trevante Citizen. As you saw recently in a video, I said that I noticed him in a big knee brace after practice. So just some note on Trevante in case you missed it. You know, a couple other guys, Jalen Knight, he spoke about him too. Doesn't seem to be serious the way I interpreted that one. So that's good news to hear as well. Okay, this came out today from Coach Cristobal. He said, you know, they're still looking for some consistency, you know, in the interior defensive line, but did note that Daryl Jackson, the transfer from Maryland, has been the most consistent interior defensive lineman. I think that's noteworthy because I've been wondering, you know, where Daryl's going to fit in with these other guys that are a little bit more experienced than him, not just guys at Miami, but other guys at other schools as well. Daryl's coming into his second collegiate season. Showed some flashes last year at Maryland. Obviously, you guys have seen his video that I posted on the channel. Really great size, but that's good to hear that a guy like that is doing well and impressing the head coach. Another guy that Coach Cristobal spoke very highly about on the defensive line is true freshman Nigel Kelly. He was asked about him and he said, look, he's a guy that I wanted to get at Oregon. He felt like he was going to get him there, so he's glad to have him here at Miami once he made that coaching decision. And Nigel has flashed. We certainly have seen it. It's not just something coach is saying. We've seen it out here at practice when we've been able to watch practices. And Nigel is going to be very interesting in terms of how often he's able to get in there. The key for him, a key for a guy like that, is whenever he gets his opportunities to make the most of them. He's one of these guys that maybe doesn't have that large role early in the year, but if he continues to make plays, continues to produce, he's going to be a guy that gets in that mix sooner rather than later. And he's got two great opportunities to start the year with Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss. So he's definitely one of those guys to watch for in the early portion of the season to determine maybe how his role will evolve as the year goes on. And speaking of production in terms of competition, I think that's where a lot of this is going to really emerge in terms of guys once the season starts. Charlie Strong, linebackers coach, mentioned that Corey Flagg has had the best camp among the linebackers. We will see how that translates to the season. Once again, Corey's got to continue to produce. He was the leading tackler a year ago, only with 61 tackles. Certainly he would like to have that number much higher, not miss tackles, be in the right spots. And one of the things that Charlie said was Corey gives himself a chance on the field because of how much studying he does off the field, and that's good to hear that he's attacking that very heavily, and certainly you're hoping for a better season out of Corey Flagg. Good fall camp according to Strong. Another guy that coach mentioned that's doing really well off the field is Al Blades Jr. He did say on the field he's doing well, feels like they can move him around, but he just noted his leadership. He's a vocal guy, so whether it's on the practice field, and he noted, you know, he's also been very good in the weight room as well, being that voice. And I know, you know, just hearing Al speak all fall camp, he has just talked about wanting to be that voice and also being able to help guys along. He's certainly concentrating on his own game, and, you know, just with him, I saw him after practice doing some work today, working on catching the ball, you know, intercepting passes out of his breaks. Missed a couple, but made some catches too. So I wonder if that was something that happened at practice or if it's just something for him to work on. I do want to mention too, another guy that I saw recently working out after practice, and I always like to pay attention to guys because, again, it's not to discredit the guys that aren't doing it or the guys I don't see, but I just want to give some credit to the guys that I do see putting in that extra work when we are able to be out there. The way it works is we're able to be out there at practice. At the end, guys are walking off the field as we're waiting for interviews. So sometimes guys are either doing extra stretching in their position groups, extra workouts, whatever it might be. You know, and another guy that was doing that I want to mention is John Campbell. and I'll show you guys, and we'll get more into him, but it's always good just to see these guys and see these upperclassmen really take to it. I think there's a lot of upperclassmen that are really looking for big years, and I think that's one of the reasons why I do think Miami's going to have a successful season this year, is because of the veteran at the top of the depth charts across the board on both sides of the ball. A few quick notes on Tyler Van Dyke. Full interview will be posted on the channel as well, but I do want to mention, he was asked if there's some former quarterbacks that he speaks to, and he said that he speaks to former quarterback Bernie Kosar the most. Also noted that he speaks to Steve Walsh quite a bit as well. I thought that was noteworthy. He didn't mention Malik Rozier, but I remember last year he has worked with him as well. So he's definitely staying in contact with some of these former UM players that played the quarterback position, just to get some insight whenever he can. And speaking of Tyler, James Williams talked about Tyler just being a warrior and being a guy that he likes to talk to during practice and likes to be competitive with at practices. And I think that's always great to hear, guys opposite sides of the ball and, obviously different positions, but they're going at it. I was trying to get a question in right at the end with Tyler Van Dyke. I wanted to really get his thoughts on the secondary, because it's a lot of returning guys. But as you've heard from spring ball, coaches feel like this is going to be a good group. And, just with the amount of experience, they do add, Daryl Porter's back, or they insert Daryl Porter in the mix as well. So that was good to hear. Gilbert Frierson talked about the young guys, and we will see if they're going to have some roles. But one of the things he noted with the young guys is he's seeing them kind of doing extra work in terms of film study and things like that. So that's good to hear as they continue to work and find roles on this team. So I was able to ask Coach a question after practice, and it was about the drops. And the reason why I bring this up is because he mentioned specifically drops being an issue in the last scrimmage. So I was curious because, again, we're not only able to be out there one time this week for a quick session, 20 minutes or so. So I was curious on his thoughts, if it's progressed, if they've made improvements in that area, or if it's still an issue. And he did say, yes, there's been some progress, but just feels like there's more room to go. And so that'll be just something to watch for. He did kind of mention, he didn't single out a position, which I found interesting. He just feels like whether either side of the ball, guys have got to make plays. And I think that's where it comes down to. So contested catches, 50-50 balls, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a diving catch, whatever it might be. He's expecting guys to get the ball. Certainly the easy ones are the ones you get most disappointed with. So just something to monitor, and Coach did address that today. We've heard from Jafari quite a bit throughout fall camp, spoke at Media Day, so we've heard him speak just about a bunch of different subjects this fall, heading into a season. And one of the things that, just a reminder, and if you guys have seen the videos, you probably have noticed where they've been playing Jafari, which is different than what it's been in the past in terms of being primarily with his hand on the ground. They are standing him up quite a bit, and I think that's something that I've been kind of wanting to see out of him since he's been at UM, to be honest. When you see him and you're around him, he just reminds me of the guys that I've seen at NFL locker rooms in terms of the linebacker position. And it's not that he can't get bigger or anything like that. He just looks similar to that position. So the fact that they want to, in this defense, stand him up quite a bit more, and that's going to be his role. And he said the last time he's done that, he kind of did that as a junior in high school, played that outside linebacker position. I just think that's what you're going to see out of that position. And really, I like that with this defense, where you've got that side, that defensive end playing that stand-up position. Other guys there, we've seen, I touched on Nigel E. Kelly, Mitchell Agude is in that same spot, as well as Cyrus Moss, and then Thomas Davis is over there now. Started out at linebacker, they're putting him back at defensive end. Thomas's best trait is being a pass rushing guy, so that's why they like him in that role. So we'll see if he can develop there, but I just think with Jafari, that's where you're going to get the most out of him. I think he can kind of stand up and move. He's got good athleticism, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I do get it. I do find it interesting with the way people are expecting out of Harvey. I just think, a guy like Mitchell has been a proven guy his 2 years at UCLA. Again, just a reminder, all Pac-12 second teamer last year. That is big. He was a very productive guy last year. All the analytics say so as well. So Mitchell is certainly, I think, going to have a good year for Miami. I honestly think it's up to Harvey to match Agude, not the other way around, even though Agude is the new player. Okay, just want to wrap this up kind of with where this team is in terms of its practice schedule. They're expected to practice on Friday morning. They're expected to go in helmets. And then also Saturday, we'll see, based on the schedule there, Sunday also in helmets. But they are working on some Bethune-Cookman stuff, kind of getting ready for game week. So that's worth noting, not technically in that fall camp mode as of now. So, and also, I do want to mention They have 2 more lift sessions still on the schedule before the game starts. Just to summarize it, they've had 5, including they had 1 yesterday. So they've had 5 during fall camp. Again, 2 more still to go, and that's always good to see too. They're kind of fitting that in when they can, either once or twice a week, depending on the schedule. So that's just some stuff going on with the team. Once again, just a reminder, classes have started, but they're still planning on practicing in the morning throughout the season. So I just want to wrap this up. You know, I'm glad you guys are tuning in here because, you know, imagine not knowing who Eugene is. So I also want to show you guys what's going on around campus. We weren't able to be at practice today, but I want to show you what's been added to the parking garage, you know, with this new Hurricanes logo. So check that out. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day and take care.